Yeah, welcome everyone. This is the November 17th EdgeX Adopter Series presentation. Just go through a couple intro slides. This is the standard Linux Foundation antitrust policy notice. And today's agenda is HP team to present the introduction to HP Engage Edge, the world's first retail product powered by EdgeX. I'm going to switch over to that slide deck.
And Brett, for attendees, they're muted, right? But they can unmute themselves if they want to ask a question or post in the chat, correct? Or they cannot.
That is correct. Yes,
Okay.
everyone is muted, but the Q&A functionality is active if folks have questions.
Okay, so yeah, today the HP team is gonna talk about our newly announced product, Engage Edge. So maybe Sandip, you can do an introduction for yourself.
Yeah, hi everyone. Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are. My name is Sandip Kamat. I'm a global product management and strategy at HP, focused on advanced compute solutions, which essentially build solutions in retail, hospitality, healthcare, and similar verticals. So great to be here.
And I am Henry Lau. I'm a distinguished technologist at HP Retail and Industry Solutions team, more focused on software and system architecture, and has been involved with EdgeX for the past year or two. So welcome everyone. So let's go. Hang on here. All right, go for it, Sandy.
All right, so let's get started with some background information before we dive into HP's Engage Edge product. And really, I know EdgeX community is focused on a variety of verticals. Some of those I mentioned earlier: retail, hospitality, healthcare, industrial, warehousing, and the list continues. So I want to specifically focus today on retail and hospitality. That's the business, our business unit inside HP focuses on. And as a part of that exercise, to see how much spending is happening in the use cases that Edge could help solve in a much better way than what's happening today. And that's how we consolidated some data from analysts on just these two verticals. And we see that there is a large amount of spending that's going there. It's about 19 billion plus market, growing at a very healthy rate, 11% or more. And then if you just focus on the top 5 use cases where sensory analytics could help, you can see those listed out in the sizes. Inventory management is more than $8 billion. Loss prevention and workforce management both are more than $3 billion. Promotion effectiveness or marketing campaigns and such, that's 2.6. And customer engagement in the store, in the healthcare facility, is 2.3. So you can see it's a large amount of spending. A lot of this is going on in a variety of sensors, hardware, the ERP type of software. A lot of it is happening with cloud today as Edge, as the technology matures. So let's go to the next slide. Now let's break it down for a typical retail store. If you're a medium to large enterprise, this is how your layout looks like. And as you want, in the last few years, businesses are really digitizing for actionable insights. There is a lot of value by tracking an offline store, just like you would track your e-commerce. On e-commerce, people are tracking clicks and eyeballs and creating a lot of analytics to drive more commerce. If you translate that to a physical store or healthcare facility or hospitality, there are sensors. So if you could click, Henry, and you can see those sensors could be RFID, cameras, Bluetooth beacons. And a lot of these use cases are being solved by deploying 1 or 2 cloud services. And the issue with that is today's cloud services, that exists in this vertical can solve, let's say, inventory with one service, promotion effectiveness with another, and customer engagement with yet one more. So as you deploy these cloud services, that data is remaining in their own silos. And as a business, cohesive insights are very, very hard for the business owner or the corporate like Walmart or Best Buy to have sort of like a single pane of glass. But at the same time, cloud is not free. There are lock-ins, there are costs, there are connectivity issues, there are privacy issues to send your data to somebody else's cloud. And of course, with the round trip time, there are latency issues. You cannot create actionable insights in real time if you have the data go back to a cloud and come back. And of course, Edge can help there. But if you look at just how many sensors there are at least a dozen protocols that are very common. And if you create an Edge solution for some of those, you end up making it custom for that sensor or that use case. Even, from corporate to corporate, as an ISV, if you're developing, or as a solution provider, if you're developing something around this, you end up customizing it from store to store or facility to facility, and custom implementations cannot scale. So that's how we looked at this space. And we said, what if there is a ready edge compute that can take all these data streams and create some actionable insights on site, real time, low latency for the associates and managers to act on. And that's how we got interested in Linux Foundation's LF Edge and the EdgeX Foundry framework. And you can imagine similar dynamics in other industries as well. When we did the surveys with retail and hospitality and healthcare or the similar verticals, this is what we are seeing. The priorities that are mentioned here: inventory visibility, supporting the store pickup. With COVID-19, there's a lot of buy online, pickup in store or curbside delivery that's happening. And a lot of that is pushing a lot of sensory analytics. When you enter some stores, they are taking your temperatures. There are cameras being installed to monitor social distancing within a store. And all of that is introducing, even the retailers who are not thinking about sensors, they are getting introduced to that, because of COVID-19 situation. And if you, on the right side, there will be a spending plan survey, and you can see there is Internet of Things, which is really in the top 3. There is edge computing in that circle. And for the reasons that I mentioned on the earlier slide, there is a lot of interest in edge compute, and now with sensors even more, and that's going to continue. We see that edge has a real potential here to solve something in real time, private, on the on-premises way, and that's why it's getting prominence. Let's go to the next one. This is a quote from Greg Buzak. He's the president of IHL. They focus on retail analytics, and they see 460% growth in the next 2 years. And this is pre-COVID. With COVID, some of this is accelerated as the highest technology growth area, because cloud cost, latency, and the reasons that I mentioned earlier. Now, let's go to the next slide. Let's see why HP? Why did we think that we need to do something here? Why is it our responsibility? So HP is actually number 1 market share in point of sale. We are a very well-known name in retail and hospitality already. And we have a portfolio here, if you can go and build the slide up, that does purpose-built products for a given use case. So retail and hospitality are very harsh environments, and they have a variety of custom use cases. So we build, you can start from the left top of the screen, all-in-ones. These are the units that you see when you enter a store and you check out. And there are lots of peripherals and sensors, barcode scanners, camera, sometimes small printers that go with this. There are convertibles, which are dock-on-dock type of tablet. You can take it in the aisle and do clienteling, as we call it, or the shoulder experience in an apparel store, as an example. There are modulars on the right top of the screen, These are the units that you may not visibly see when you walk into a Starbucks or a Subway. These are in the back room, or they are behind the menu displays. And there is a lot of compute happening on those. Left bottom, peripherals, we build a lot of those. It's a big portfolio for us. On moving to the right, there is cloud solutions that we have launched recently to manage these devices. And of course, now right bottom, edge solutions with HP Engage Edge. We are entering this area and to accelerate the store digitization for the use cases that I mentioned earlier, either for solution providers or ISVs, or even retailers who are building their own solutions in this space. Let's go to the next one. So to summarize, we looked at the challenges here: latency, privacy, security with cloud, and edge is, it's very hard to implement given the protocols. And we have a responsibility here at HP, and we are a very partner-friendly company. So we work with an ecosystem of partners. So our opportunity, let's go ahead and click one more time, is that we can build on that market-leading hardware portfolio. As I said, we are #1 market share right now. So we have a global footprint. We have great service coverage. We have a great security story. HP is known for our security focus. And we can build on that and bring in Edge framework, EdgeX framework as a part of the offering. And we can help accelerate the time to market with something that just talks to, bring your sensor and it just works, industry-leading framework. And of course, EdgeX by definition is open, scalable, extensible with community innovation. So there will be multiple compute options and use cases that we will provide. And it continues getting better by the participation from people on this call to continue adding features and improve the framework itself. Let's go to the next one. The story that's resonating with our partners and customers is this. So today, there are lots of edge implementations out there. Some of our competitors have edge implementations as well. But by definition, without the community or ecosystem coming together, these are controlled by a single vendor. These are proprietary, and once it is done by one company, of course, it is customized. It's hard for an ISV or a solution provider to scale that. But more importantly, when we talk to our retailers and hospitality operators, the CIOs there, they want their own freedom. If they see a better sensor or better analytics engine, or they want to add a use case, they don't, they need to be prioritized by the single vendor. And of course, there is no community innovation aspect. So if you build this to EdgeX, then you see a stark contrast here. This is a vendor neutral, industry standard open framework. It has an ecosystem of, I would say, 3-4 dozen logos focused on unifying and accelerating the deployment of IoT. And from our customers' point of view, if you are a CIO of Walmart or a Best Buy, you are free to upgrade your components, sensors, analytics engines. It's a standard API, standard framework. Everyone is going to do the same interfaces. And of course, with the broad industry support and community innovations, we will continue updating this as EdgeX updates and improves as a framework. We will continue updating this on our products as a part of the offering with HP Engage Edge. Let's go to the next one. And of course, the 6 million downloads is a proof point. We already have that momentum that we need for our industry to really focus on this. So what is our product? With all that background, what we have built is, I showed you the portfolio slide with a variety of purpose-built options. So let me double down on purpose-built. There are lots of solutions out there which are repurposed personal computers being tossed to the retailers. But what they really need is water resistance. You can see in a restaurant or a bar environment, water or beverages, it has to have that resistance. It has to have dust resistance as the basics. It has to be retail hardened in that sense. they need a lots of connectivity for printers, peripherals, displays. So a lot of these requirements are about connectivity. They need to have long life cycle. Our smartphones are usually used for 18 to 24 months, but these products get used for 5 years or even more, and we need to support them beyond that. So these are 5-year manufacturing, 5-year support kind of products. So it's never heard of in the consumer space. So we have taken one of these purpose-built products. We have pre-installed EdgeX-based software as a data ingestion software layer there, and we are offering it very simply to enable your use cases for our partners and customers for use cases like theft detection, inventory management, and the others that we saw at the beginning of this deck. And there is a lot of spending happening. So these are real use cases that are getting solved today. So clicking a little more into the product, we are actually really proud and happy that we are world's first retail product powered by EdgeX. And that's something thanks to Linux Foundation, to give us that right to say that, because we did study every single product out there to make sure to make this claim. What this means is that common sensors are supported out of the box, and that's continue to get better in terms of coverage or any new sensors getting updated, which is part of the community aspect of open innovation. Intel, thanks to Intel team, we are very close, strategic partners with Intel. This is certified as RFP ready kit, or RRK for short, which means that it can be directly deployed in a lot of situations where a use case and a solution is needed, and we are ready for RFP. We checked all the boxes that are the common industry requirements, and we will do any tweaks for a given use case with our key partners. Goes without saying, we have a global network of world-class services and care packs. So the long life cycle that I mentioned are all covered, and there is a lot more options on top of that depending on the specific customer need. Let's move on. So to summarize, we looked at what the product is. It's a hardware software bundle ready to go. And of course, we have a choice of hardware compute from our portfolio with warranty and service. Who is it for? It's for retail, hospitality, ISV, solution providers who are looking to solve their business metrics in a real-time, on-site solution. And why? Simply because we accelerate your edge deployments. We avoid custom implementations. All of the sensors are included as far as the common sensors, and it frees you as an ISV or as a solution builder to focus on your core competencies. Really focus on that analytics engine or creating those insights, and really the customer that you want to focus on rather than worrying about the recipes of a variety of sensors. Let's go to the next one. So
Sandip, maybe before you move on, there's some questions in the chat.
Oh, okay.
You were talking about solution partners. So there's a question about how do solution partners work with HP on Engage Edge?
Oh, yeah, that's a great question. Thanks, Camilo, for pointing that out. So it's very simple. If you already have a HP representative, just talk to them. We are actually running active pilots, and we'll talk a little more about that at the end of this deck. But we have a very simple process to have a quick introductory call, understand the use case, and we have a pre-installed, ready to go proof of concept units. So for today's call, if you don't have HP representative that you already work with, just talk to me or Henry, and we will get you connected up in the region that you are in. And let me see other questions as well.
Relative to the region, which countries will this product be available?
We are a global company, so we have this product available either already or in a couple of days around the world. So Americas, APJ, EMEA, this is a global product, and we have representatives. And we announced this with a blog post in August, and since then we have done a lot of trainings internal as well as external with HP Ignite event. It is a global product. So in whichever country you are in, talk to the HP representative there, or we can connect you up. The next one says the box comes with vertical specific software. Actually, there are two parts to this. What we have in this product as of today is the Edge software, which includes our own operating system, Ubuntu-based operating system. We call it HP ThinPro. It has a Docker container architecture, and it has the EdgeX framework. So Henry will dive into the technical details of that, but the vertical specific software is something that we leave it to the ISVs, focused on, let's say, inventory management or theft detection and so on. They are the ones who will take it further and make it vertical specific. All right. Yeah, thank you for those questions. I'll keep them coming. And I will come back and check on those. So the sample use cases in this case are, as you can imagine, wherever there is a variety of sensors used, that's our use case. It's pretty simple. So the same product is horizontally targeted for each and any of these use cases: loss prevention, inventory, engagement, promotions, labor automation. The simplest way to think about this is if you have a sensor fusion, if you have a variety of sensors coming together in real time, so those are the two keywords, real-time sensor fusion, then this is the product for you. And to go back to the question that was asked on the chat, the ISV decides what metric they want to track, because all of the data streams are brought up together to them and what kind of insights they create. So it's basically a question of what ISV software runs on this, and that's the shape it takes. I think after this, I hand it off to Henry. Yeah, take it away, Henry.
Yeah, hey. So follow on to what Sandip has talked about, we want to expand a bit more on the use cases, right? Even though, for our particular team, our first focus is retail and hospitality businesses, but the same product can be applied to many other industries and many other use cases. So especially when we speak to the field, the salespeople, right? To some of them, the quote unquote edge is still a relatively new concept. So we have to come up with a few more examples to kind of get this concept further ingrained into the thinking, right? They're not used to selling a edge related product. So one example that seems to resonate in their mind very quickly is put the example of the autonomous car, right? Many recent cars have many sensors put around it to do a self-parking operation, to do collision avoidance, that kind of thing. So essentially, all those sensors in the car, there's an edge computing element on the car processing these signals in order to create a very quick actuation. When you sense that you're coming up with a obstacle, you want to be able to stop the car quickly, not to send the event to the cloud, wait for the analysis to come back, and then make the command to stop, and that might be too late. So that's example one. Second one is for factory automation, right? Many of newer factories have a lot of machineries on the floor. There could even be some vehicles moving automatically within the factory floor. So you can monitor the machine's operation to predict when maintenance might need to happen. You don't want to wait for the equipment to fail, then your downtime could end up be longer. You can also measure the environmental within your factory, temperature, humidity, etc. Some types of products are, being manufactured are sensitive to those environments. And lastly, yeah, monitor your shop floor traffic. Then the third example is more retail store related, right? You could be monitoring the flow of your customers, your assets or your shelf stocking, loss prevention, etc. As an example, you want to put sensors and detect, when someone taken some things out of the refrigerator, the cooler, but forgot to close the door. You want to be able to know that quickly instead of wait until hopefully a clerk would walk by that area and notice the open door, 10 minutes later. Maybe that's too late, right? So these are all various examples of why an edge compute is needed, why you need more closer to real-time insights or actuations being generated. There's another thing I want to talk about is a storeroom closet syndrome, or you can also call it the backroom closet syndrome. So in many cases in a store, I'll call it the retail store, but it can be generalized into many businesses. Maybe the business first saying, hey, I want to put some security on my store. I want to track if someone, walk out of the store without paying for the item, right, etc. So maybe they go to one vendor and says, hey, put in security gates for me, put in some electronics for me to detect that, and that gets tied into some infrastructure to handle loss prevention. Then later on, they say, I also wanted to track, maybe how customers are spending time in different aisles. I want to use Bluetooth beacon. So yet another third party put in Bluetooth beacons, put in another gateway processing those signals, connect to that infrastructure. And then thirdly, they say, I really need to track my inventory. So sounds like RFID is a good idea, right? Another vendor put in the RFID readers around the store, having another gateway manage the RFID signals, connect to another infrastructure for that. So what you get out of is you run out of space in your back room, right? You got many of these boxes, you get all these cables going out all over the place. You can literally run out of electrical plugs to power the various boxes. And you have a number of incompatible technology that makes it difficult to maintain or upgrade over time. So this is where, right, the EdgeX framework intend to solve is apply a common framework, across these running in an edge gateway, so that each of these no longer become a silo. Each of these can be just a container element by itself. And then that allows you to also easily expand to additional technology without having to create a brand new infrastructure, brand new hardware, gateway, etc. Maybe add computer vision. And now these are all, through the middleware framework with a common set of APIs. They can even talk to each other to share data together. So let's look further into our Engage Edge product, the software layers. And to many of you on the call, this is probably very obvious. But to if someone in the sales business, this is we have to explain this very clearly into exactly what this is, right? In our case today, we base on our existing one of our hardware in our retail portfolio is called the MP9. And then we put on a operating system, which is the HP ThinPro OS, is a Linux-based operating system. Add on the Docker container engine, add on the EdgeX framework. So these blue components are all the items that's built into our product as a hardware and software bundle. And then where the solution partner come in, the ISVs, software vendors or the solution vendors, they would apply, the necessary configs and also add on their other applications to put together the use case. whether the actual solution use case is asset management or theft detection or people tracking, that would be the components that come from the solution provider. And once all these pieces add up together, then that would be the full solution.
Henry, there's a couple of questions that are probably relevant to that or this
Okay.
slide whenever you have a chance.
So let's say first one, how are you handling the development of device profiles with respect to being able to support bring your own sensor approach? So essentially, right, it is going to be, I'll call it half and half. So with the EdgeX group, right, with the extensive support with EdgeX, so many of our solution partners or vendors, they will go look at that documentation to learn how to develop with EdgeX, because what's included in ours is the same EdgeX, same API. And then we have provided support, additional support assistance on the HP side to give more examples to help them answer questions, to help them move along in the solution development quickly, right? So it certainly doesn't make sense, and it's not like HP created a totally separate set of supporting materials. Many of those are still based on what's already in the EdgeX Foundry site. And then the second question is, what connectivity ports does sensor use to connect on Engage Edge? So it varies, right? So let's say an example is, I believe, it skipped my mind, IP cameras, right, use Ethernet. So that's just Ethernet connections. There are some other sensors using USB, or it could be serial ports. So this MP9 product, same as many of the other what we call the modular boxes in our retail portfolio, has a mixture of a number of I/O ports available. May it be USB, serial, power USB, etc. And this is coming from many years of experience in the retail industry, that these are the core set of ports that pretty much all customers will use. All right. Then let's continue. So yeah, again, the EdgeX middleware framework, most of you here on the call is familiar with. So this is really, the middleware that ties between the devices, the Internet of Things, towards the IT system or the ERP system, right? A couple more examples. This next one is a self-checkout loss prevention demo that we also partner with Intel and a few other vendors that put together this demo at the NRF show in January 2020, right? That's pretty much the last time many of us was able to travel. So Intel also talked about this demo in prior sessions. So what we did, at least on the HP booth, right? This is a typical kind of picture representing what a self-checkout looked like in the grocery store. So what we did in the demo, of course, we cannot build the whole thing as is in the show. So we put in one of the HP all-in-one point of sale system. In this case, we use the Engage One product for the checkout that runs the point of sale software. We put in one of the fairly standard industry barcode scan device when you scan objects that you want to buy. Also added a weight scale from one of the partners in the bagging area when you put things on there. And finally, there's a camera, mounted on top looking down when you do the scan actions. So essentially, all these 4 data streams, the events combined, is processed on the Engage Edge to create the insights. And for the sake of that NRF demo, this is to detect whether a theft has happened, whether you are actually scanning the bottle of olive oil and is put on the bagging area, or maybe you are hiding the barcodes of a expensive bottle of wine with something cheaper. So the multiple data streams is intended to reconcile the event and to identify whether a potential theft has happened. And when we translate that into a high-level view of the components, right, this is how it looked like. Again, the blue components are all the software that's already included in the Engage Edge. The green components represent the software modules that the solution provider would bring in, right? So in this case, we got the point of sale system, the barcode scan, and the weight scale all coming into EdgeX through the REST API device service. The camera, in this case, is a very simple video pipeline with object recognition also running on Engage Edge, and that feed in the output of that, the metadata, feed into EdgeX via MQTT. And at the application layer, then there's logic to reconcile the events, detect whether a loss might have happened, and put out the insights or the result. And for the sake of the show, the results is just put out in a UI dashboard, but for real implementation, it can feed onto other subsystems. Then we do one more example, is a quick service restaurant, fast food restaurant. They want to track the movement of their inventory, because they have so many items, right? You have meat patties, drinking cups, straws, ketchup packets, napkins, et cetera, et cetera. So you want to be able to track those items from when it's first delivered, where you store them, whether it's the dry storage, chiller, or freezer, and then later on taken out into the kitchen for cooking, and then eventually, items sold, right? So this example is you can put in RFID readers around the quick service restaurant to track the movement of these packages of items as they are being consumed. And when translating to the architecture, again, is very similar in the previous diagram, right? It's to highlight, it's the same blue components that provided in Engage Edge as the base components. And in this case, with RFID readers, yeah, then you have RFID subsystem software talking to that reader with metadata coming in through MQTT. And again, at the application layer, you can figure out how to process and reconcile those events and create your necessary insights or results. Okay. So our solution development flow based on EdgeX then becomes a very simple 3 steps. So step number 1, our solution partner decide on, hey, what sensor data streams they want to bring in. Is it 1 type, 2 type, 3 types or more? Is it RFID? Is it temperature, humidity sensors? Is it vision computer data streams? Then second, identify what's the use case application, right? Are you trying to detect theft, track assets, or track people movement? That's the use case. And then finally decide what is the data you want to further export to the backend IT system or the backend ERP system. So essentially, we are guiding each of our solutions partners to follow these flows. So then we can identify how to progress with maybe a first start with a POC, then do a pilot, and then do a trial deployment. Be able to follow those processes.
Henry, there is a question that may be relevant.
Okay. So the question here is, do you use only CPUs or are GPUs also being used? So on the MP9, this is a small desktop mini style box. So for that box by itself, it's mostly CPU processing, right? So I guess the question is more leading to if we need the computer vision processing, whether there are leverages for other resources, and the answer is yes. Some of the examples given, we have do the demo using OpenVINO and talking to one of the Intel Movidia's base VPU chipsets to speed up the development. And we're looking into making use of some of our larger boxes in our portfolio, where we can also plug in a PCIe board that contain a number of these VPU chips to speed up the processing. So that's all possible and doable. So finally, this is the summary slide. Maybe Sandip, you want to do this one?
Yeah, so I think this is our, we are just beginning with Edge, with HP Engage Edge, with an MP9 based compute. And as we see the right fit for we have a variety of compute options available in our portfolio, and we are, constantly building new innovations. So we will very quickly, get to the roadmap of this. And as a part of that, we are running a lot of pilots right now. So if you have a use case, take a look at the details here, ask us any questions or your local HP representative. It's a very, fairly simple process. We just look at the use case and the recipe of sensors and make sure the device services are, already part of that, or do we need any adjustment? And we, deploy it for the use case that you want. So talk to us. This is an exciting area. There's a lot to be accomplished here in terms of solving real problems for our customers and partners. So let's accelerate the future. And we will take any questions in the remaining time that we have here. Are there are people on audio as well, Brett? Can they ask live questions?
They're not. We can, if folks want to ask
on Q&A?
A question, yeah, you should be able to either Q&A or you should be able to raise your hand if you would like to ask a live question as well.
Yeah, and while if you are thinking about questions, a quick note, feel free to take a look at our blog post. We actually blogged about the demo, the self-checkout demo on LF Edge blog site. So lf-edge.com should have the blog post if you just look up by HP name. We also did an announcement in August where we detailed, the summary of what we just discussed here. So if you just Google HP Engage Edge, you should find that blog post very easily, probably just the top result. If not, we can send you a link. So there is a lot of material out there and, a lot of possibilities as well.
All right, everything is clear to everyone. Okay. Sandip, you might want to answer this question.
Yeah, so what's the process to do a POC with my software or sensors? So very simply, if you know the local HP representative, wherever you are, talk to them, or Camilo sent our info in the chat window here. Talk to us as well. It's fairly easy. Like I said, we will just have a quick summary of the use case and the recipe and see what type of compute fits, and get it done with your sensors and software. We have some of those already underway, so we are in those cycles right now.
Yeah, primarily we want to first understand what is your needs, what are the use cases you are targeting, and make sure there's a fit between our goal and your goal, right?
Looks like we do have a live question. 1 second, let me. Danny, go ahead.
Hi, Henry. Thank you for the presentation. Very informative. My question is very simple. On the HP EdgeX server, say a customer wants to control their devices. Is the plan to have a UI to control these different devices and possibly upgrade them? Is that on the roadmap? Is there a template for this, or that's not really the case?
I can take that one, Henry.
Oh, go ahead, Sandip.
Yeah, so it's definitely on our roadmap, Danny. We are also open at this point to have, if there are any third-party remote manageability software people are using, we can definitely, from time to market perspective, look at integrating those. And there are a couple of different options that are doing that today for edge compute, right? So we do have our remote manageability with the UI, with a product called HP Engage Console, whereby we do update, configure, and in general manage the point of sale devices, right? And we have a roadmap to build that further to get edge under its wings. Today, we are open to all the third-party softwares as well.
Yeah, and to add to that, right, there's a little bit of both worlds also. We'll continue to, offer HP-built manageability solutions to cover the edge. But we are also listening to the information coming in through our, solution partners, and also either our end customer or their end customer. Some of the customers, especially if it's a more established chain, a larger chain, they already have management tools in use. So it is more, in those cases, more of how do we make sure, or how do we help assist in adapting Engage Edge to be managed under the existing tool, right? Those are, they are already managing maybe hundreds and thousands of other devices in the current infrastructure. They don't necessarily want to introduce a new tool, but just want us to map into the existing one. So it can come in, multiple scenarios depending on who the end customer is.
Great.
Yeah, great question, Danny. There's one more. When can we start to see EdgeX being used in customer stores? We are world's first retail product with EdgeX, so we believe that we can say soon. Don't have any announcements to make today, but I think there is a lot of activity and the pilots, proof of concepts happening. So that indicates that it should be soon. And again, we are the world's first EdgeX product in retail, but we don't want to be the only. This is a community innovation. We would welcome others coming into this space and verticals to expand the framework into more and more verticals as well as stores. So the short answer is soon. There is enough activity out there. And as we saw, there are 6 million downloads of EdgeX framework, which is another proxy for how much interest is out there.
The new number for EdgeX download, the latest number is what, 7 million, right? We have to start changing our slides.
Yeah, hard to keep up.
Any other questions for Henry and Sandip?
Yeah, so if not, we, let's just close by saying thank you for listening in. And I see a large number of people listening in. So I appreciate that. This is, again, as an EdgeX Adopter Series team, we are happy to be part of the ecosystem here. This is something new and exciting, solving real world problems, and that are really getting urgent with the sensory analytics introduced by the unfortunate situation of COVID-19. But there was a lot of activity that was being focused on before that, just getting accelerated as another, there is another reason here. And there are enough opportunities for all of us to go solve something really in the near term. So really looking forward to that collaboration. And thank you for listening in today.
And thank you so much, Henry and Sandip, for today's session and for everyone that attended. Have a good day.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, everyone.